Good afternoon. I'm Ken Mercer. I'm here standing in for our friend David Bradley, the State Board of Education. They had a death in the family. I know our thoughts and prayers are with David and Theo this weekend. Again, I'm Ken Mercer. I'm a former member of the Texas State House, and I was hoping Chairman Eisler would still be here. Someone asked me outside, I said, do you have a lot in common with Rob Eisler? And I said, for example, I said, well, you're both members of the historic 2003 Texas State House. I said, well, there you go. And then according to this morning's paper, Rob Eisler and Ken Mercer are the only two elected officials in Texas who have not announced that they are running for the U.S. Senate. So, Dr. Farney, that makes three of us. And Laurie gave me a note that Dr. Farney, Rob Eisler, and Ken Mercer are unique also. We've never been indicted either. So, seriously, Rob Eisler's a great guy, and we're so blessed to have him as a champion. I was going to tell him personally in front of people, just thank God for what he's doing for the children of Texas. If you see him, tell him that. Again, I'm Ken Mercer. I've been on the board for 4 years, and I've just been reelected. I have 12 counties, 1.5 million people. And my passion has been for charter schools. My first year on board, I was sent to the conference in Washington, D.C. with the Department of Defense and other groups and talking about the need for charters. I was kind of, wow, that's kind of interesting. But our folks coming down, especially in Texas, in El Paso and Killeen, and Fort Hood, Killeen, and Fort Sam Houston, and San Antonio, my home, are very interested in choices for the parents, especially military families. But what I saw when I did my homework, and as a business group here looking at charter schools, you should know, the media doesn't always get it right. Charter schools are what? They're public schools. Charter schools are public schools. But as a business person, there's a few differences. They average about $1,500 to $2,000 less per every child. And yet they're held to the same accountability, the same test everybody else takes. So if you're business people here and you're saying, great, Ken, we all want to open a charter school, help finance one, I tell you, well, but you're going to get $2,000 less per child. Wow. And held to the same accountability. Oh, by the way, you also have no taxing authority. You don't have a tax base. You can't say we're going to build 1,000 new homes and those homes will contribute $3,000 a year of school property taxes to help build new. No, you don't have that taxing authority at all. So you can see already, business-wise, I'm going, well, there's some things that are a little unfair. And yet I know in my hometown of San Antonio, one of the pictures you showed here, oh, by the way, thank you to the Cosmo Foundation for having us today, too. I'm supposed to open with that. You said other thoughts. But one of the first schools I saw here, there's an area, there were 5 schools in southwest San Antonio, 5 low-performing schools, failing schools. And here came a new charter. And I believe in 2 years, the charter took the same population and went not only to acceptable, but went to the highest rating, exemplary. Exemplary. The highest standard we offer in Texas with the same population of students and parents. And by the way, the media says something, gives you the impression that charters can choose their kids. Was that true? No. I'll never forget one of the conferences in D.C. was they had that nationwide, some of the drawings, the lotteries. You know, usually you may have 400 openings, you may have 2,000 people who want to get in. I'll never forget one lady in particular, they called number 131, and she stood up, and God bless her, you could see she was a lady didn't have means, face was full of tears. She said, my child now has a chance. My child now has a chance. So if you want to know where my heart is and why I can be passionate about the fact that I believe it gives parents a choice, inner city families especially, a choice for their kids to succeed. That's my passion. Now what's going on with the state board right now is very interesting. Chairman Bradley wanted me to tell you that we manage the permanent school fund. I call it the Children's Fund. It's now between $24 and $25 billion. It's the second largest education endowment in the nation, second only to Harvard. I said it right, Harvard. Is that how you say it? Harvard. Harvard. South Texas would say it's Harvard. Harvard, okay. They're the second largest in the nation, and I wanted Chairman Eisler to know this, and I want everyone to know this. We did something very different. This last few months of State Board, we took the money, and the money's used to pay for textbooks, and we have over $600 million of textbooks the next 2 years coming out for new science books, English second language, phonics. But we actually gave not $600 million. We agreed, we had the best performing endowment fund in Texas. We gave $3 billion to education. $3 billion of brand new money which hits this cycle which I'm sure Chairman Ice is going to love to have to make. You've heard all the gloom and doom, but you haven't heard, there's one entity, the state board, the only entity that says, here's our bill, $600 million. Here's the money to pay for that bill for the books for our kids. And by the way, here's $2.4 billion more as long as it goes to education for the children of Texas. That's huge. But with that, we also passed in September something very unique. We have a certain amount of real estate investments, and we passed $100 million for a permanent school fund to allow for the leasing and rental of properties, specifically for charter school programs. It's 1/2 of 1%. $25 billion, 1% might be $250 million. So we put $100 million aside to allow for leasing and lending for programs for qualified charter programs. Now we're doing the right thing. We've gone back to Attorney General Greg Abbott to make sure it passes the constitutional muster, that everything's done just right. We're dotting our I's and crossing our T's. But with that, the opportunities we're asking right now for the legislature in particular, we want them to increase the cap of charter schools. The cap right now, we're capped out. We can't have more charters. We want to have the ability to allow more charters. There are between 40 and 60,000 kids right now in Texas waiting to get into a charter school. We also want charters to consider, the legislature to consider the charters to have access to some of that bonding fund, especially the $100 million. I want qualified charters to have the opportunity. You're going to compete. Why shouldn't you be allowed to compete for some of that money to help build new facilities? And finally, you ready for this? We're going to ask the legislature to push and that many of the schools have facilities that are unused. Maybe they're looking at elementary school, they're going to close down, or other facilities that are sitting there. And they belong to everyone here, the taxpayers. If you have unused facilities and you have a charter program, why can't we just lease or rent to that charter program? Do you hear what I'm saying? That's pretty profound. I like to think outside the box. If I think inside, I would never have mentioned the things I mentioned just now. But I think it's where we're going right now. And I think this budget year, the crisis we have right now, is probably a good time to really think outside the box. I'm Ken Mercer, and thanks for having us today.